We start with Brandon Aiyuk to the Steelers. Friend of the show, Andrew Filipponi, reporting that this deal is all but done. Contract details being hammered out, but verbally, thumbs up. Lots of angles here. We'll start back in San Francisco. Nick, how much will the 49ers miss Brandon Aiyuk?
Well, I mean, he was their deep threat. He was Purdy's favorite target. Yep. And I am shocked at how badly they appear to have botched this. Because they're not going to get a first-round pick. And whatever pick they get is not going to be on the, is not going to be on the team this year because the draft is not until after this year. The Steelers, I do think they're likely to get a player, for most likely some type of offensive line help, but no noteworthy name, no one on the Amari Cooper level, which is what we discussed yesterday. And you saw this train coming down the tracks. Here's the thing about Brandon Aiyuk. He has not been subtle. Remember when he posted on, was it TikTok, the Washington All-22 that he was studying? He was tweeting to Mike Tomlin. Yeah. He was talking openly on the pivot and anywhere. I want to get out of here. These guys don't want to pay me. Reportedly, the Steelers offered a first-round pick before the draft. And the Niners, a couple weeks ago, John Lynch, no intention to trade Brandon Aiyuk. Now, it can be messy to do what I would consider Brew-style negotiations, which is you're under contract. So are you not going to play football? Right. I mean, it's not a criticism at old school. Yeah, it's not a criticism.
You got a contract.
You're under contract. Show up. You're not going to sit out a whole year. But it appeared that's what they were going to do. To go down that road and then in the last minute be like, all right, never mind, we'll trade you. And we'll actually trade you to the place you wanted and probably not get the type of return we could have gotten months ago or maybe even the best return we could have gotten in this trade market if Aiyuk hadn't nixed a trade to New England or to Cleveland potentially. It's for a team that is SBOB.
They're definitely SBOB.
It's not a disaster because, now they can't compete, but it's a disaster of process, and it's a disaster of a squandered asset with no return for this upcoming season.
Well, I think what he did, and again, if it had gotten to the point where they're not trading him, the season's about to start, we would see who would budge. But it was a game of chicken at this point, and he was making it so ugly that they must have realized or at least felt like, you know what, he's not going to play, or if he does play, he's going to have an attitude or whatever. Look, it's definitely a loss for the Niners. I mean, he like you said, he was Brock Purdy's favorite receiver. He became their number one receiver over the last few years with Purdy. And he obviously, as Nick said, was their deep threat. But I think what this does is put even more – their health has always been, over this run in the last 5 years, a little shaky, whether it was Garoppolo, whether it was Debo, right? McCaffrey has had injury problems in the past. So now with Aiyuk, it was okay. Now if Debo gets hurt, which he usually misses a few games a year, now you don't have a number one level receiver. Ricky Pearsall, I've been mentioning him as a rookie, but he got hurt yesterday, hurt his shoulder. He had a hamstring before that, so who knows if he'll be healthy. And then, I mean, Jawan Jennings is good. He's not a number one or really two receiver.
Right, he's really good as a three.
Right. So I just think that it puts a mandate now on all their weapons being healthy. Whereas if you had lost Debo, you still had Aiyuk. All that said, they're still very much a Super Bowl contender. They lose a little something. If I'm a Niners fan, I am ticked off, and I get it. Aiyuk reportedly didn't want to go there, but I'm ticked off that they couldn't get the deal done with Cleveland, because Amari Cooper, while I don't think he's quite as good at this point as Aiyuk, I don't think they would have missed the beat. And if he played well this year, you could probably keep him at a lower number and maybe keep some of the guys you might have to lose a year from now. So that would have been great if I'm a Niners fan. But now, they take a step back. But look, 8 guys in the top 100, still 7 in the top 30.
They still have,
and it's spread out between defense and offense. They're still very much a contender, but they took a little step back.
Listen, they still have more blue chipper skill position players than any team in the league. They have 3. Now, Brew might argue Philly also has 3 because if you think Saquon's a blue chipper, but nobody, even without Aiyuk, Debo, Kittle, McCaffrey, no team in the league except for Philly, if Saquon's 1, has even 3, and they have the best left tackle in football to go along with it. And I know we'll talk Brock later, if Brock's that guy, this is not a situation of, well, he doesn't have the weapons. He is still richer on weapons than just about any quarterback in the league. But this has been a really rough few months for San Francisco. They are a team that has been banging on the Super Bowl door for the last 5 years. They lose the Super Bowl. In my opinion, the single best player on their team is still holding out. He's 36 years old, wants a new contract.
And you feel they'll get that done?
I think they'll get it. I think Trent Williams will be there. It should be noted, Trent Williams is one of the few players who has had a true holdout. That's how he got out of Washington and held the line. But he's 36. I think he'll get it done. But I also think training camp matters to a degree. I think sometimes missing training camp raises your risk of injury in the year. So it's not ideal that he's not there. Do we agree? That's not what they would prefer. Yeah. Brandon Aiyuk is gone. Christian McCaffrey is dealing with, I don't know if we're on Hobble Watch.
Hobble Watch, yeah.
Christian McCaffrey is dealing with.
Never ends.
Hey, thank you. Calf strain. And their first-round pick, which they used on wide receiver, potentially anticipating some type of issue like this, as Brew mentioned, has been injured 3 times, and it's August 7th. That's not a good offseason. There's no way around it. Like, that is not headed in the right direction.
All right, I have a question for Brew. I'll throw it back to you. What do you think, and this is a little bit, we didn't discuss this, what was Ayuk's leverage here? Do you think he was either going to miss games? Mangini talks about a hard-to-diagnose injury. But here's the other thing. We've got 2 other big-name wide receivers who are unhappy with their contracts,
CeeDee Lamb,
Jamar and CD. Are they looking at this being like, traded? I wonder how this is going to affect me now.
Well, I don't think I'm guessing they're not fearing being traded, but your first question is great. What is his leverage? His leverage is, my back. That's the only
that's
leverage.
What we think might happen with T. Higgins on this franchise tag.
Well, Higgins has said several times he's going to play.
Wait till he's banged up.
Okay.
Wait till week 8.
I hear you. But that's the only leverage a receiver or a player has in this instance, because if Aiyuk, he can't sit out, he wouldn't get paid the $14 million, nor would he accrue the season so he could sit out, or become a free agent in the summer. He had no leverage except a fake injury.
So I don't agree.
Maybe they got to. You don't agree with that?
No, because
because if you act up with an attitude, then other teams may look at you. He's kind of a prima donna.
But prima donnas get paid. Good wide receivers get paid. It doesn't matter the attitude stuff. And historically, you have to really.
Name some of the historic. Antonio Brown.
Randy kept
Moss.
Getting paid.
As great as Aiyuk, is he one of them?
No, but he also, again, being upset about a contract, I don't think labels you a prima donna.
No, but I'm saying if he would have, make a stir.
I think he'd still get paid. But I think you're on to what his leverage is. I think sometimes we forget. Football teams are workplaces. And having someone important at work that is visibly miserable, that is pouting, that is moping, that is making it uncomfortable for people has a downstream effect on everything. I know we're going to talk about the Eagles in a bit. Seems like the supernatural funk might have been part of that. I really think because we watch the games on Sundays and we talk about it, we forget, man, they show up to work at 8 in the morning. Yeah. They're they eat together, all these things. And I think teams really do have an allergy of, man, this guy's going to be miserable. He's going to make the meeting room miserable. Those things. That is the leverage is that. I'm going to be a pain in the ass to have in the building, so you might as well get me out of the building. And I think for a lot of people watching, that's relatable. You've been at work and had someone who might have been good, but was always in a bad mood. And then when they left, you felt better about going to work.
Sure.
Yeah.
Oddly, hold in. better leverage than hold out.
Yes, right.
I'm going to hold in.
I'm going to be here and be like, which is what he was doing. He was there, and
although he looked like he was.
Well, in that moment, it looked like it was fine. But yeah, I think that's a real piece of leverage.
Yeah. Tough loss for that viral video of him
dapping
shaking
up
hands.
Kyle.
You know what? Can't go with that. Hey, here's a video. We have no idea what we're talking about. All right, now let's go out to Pittsburgh, where Russ and/or Justin Fields have a new weapon to team with George Pickens. Last year, Aiyuk had the 7th most yards in the league. And get this, out of all wide receivers, average yards per catch, Pickens was number 1, Aiyuk was number 2. So, Brew.
Nick doesn't like Pickens.
No, I love it. Hold on. It's not that I don't like Pickens.
Every time I mention George Pickens as a big,
I don't, Brew.
I
don't think George Pickens is one of the 25 best receivers in the league. I think you agree.
Number 1.
I don't know. I don't want to do a countdown.
I understand. Right? I'm not going to do a countdown. But I think,
he's one of the 25 most talented.
Sure,
that's for sure.
He's very talented.
Okay,
yeah,
that's
he also doesn't seem to like all parts of football. But go ahead.
He did have that one block. He got yelled at. All right, so do we expect this move to propel the Steelers back to the playoffs?
All right, look, it's not predictions week.
No.
So you can't hold me to this.
Yeah, he's back.
Well, we're going to delay it.
We're going to delay it? Okay, good.
But you can't hold me to this. But right now,
pencil.
And my hometown is going to kill me.
Which hometown?
I know, you got to wait and see.
He's going to have Cincy out.
My playoff teams right now.
All of them?
Well, I mean, Buffalo, the Jets, the Dolphins. So the only one division going to get 3. Houston, Kansas City, Baltimore, Pittsburgh.
Cincinnati!
Wow. They have, look, they have made because I don't like the vibes coming out of Cincinnati.
Wow.
They have made the playoffs, the Steelers, 3 of the last 4 years with what, Wilds? Some of the worst quarterback play in the league.
I thought it was the Jets.
Well, the Jets, that might be later. But some of the worst quarterback play in the league.
Okay.
We know their defense is going to be legit. We know they're going to have a solid, at least solid run game. Pickens, Aiyuk. What this really is the true and complete litmus test for whoever's the quarterback, Russell Wilson or Justin Fields. If you can't succeed with this, because Freiermuth is a good tight end.
Yeah.
You got Arthur Blank now calling plays. He's legit. Like, if you cannot succeed, and I'm not saying you have to be all pro, but if you can't succeed in this, then Russ truly is washed, and Justin truly is
not a starting quarterback.
Maybe a backup for the rest of his career, however long that might even be. So it's on the quarterbacks, really.
So can I, because I don't even know that I disagree with you. I just want to follow up on one thing. Do you have any trepidation about picking a team right now, preliminarily, to make the playoffs over a team led by Joe Burrow, when in part of your analysis was whoever the quarterback is? Is there any trepidation?
We know it's going to be
right.
We know it's going to be either a guy, and obviously neither one of them is Burrow, but it's going to be a guy in Fields who's got great talent and dynamic ability, or Wilson who's had success and maybe can turn the clock back. You and I disagree on how bad Russ was last year. I would say it's real, though. I think you would agree with this. His numbers were pretty good. Didn't throw for a ton of yards, but 26 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, 6 in the league in passer rating. He wasn't quite that good, but I think he's somewhere in between where you think he was, which was horrible, and the numbers.
Well,
I think he's somewhere in between the numbers and where you.
Where I and Sean Payton, his coach, think he was, who gave him $85 million to go away.
Sean Payton said Bo Nix like Mahomes.
Sean Payton needs to get it done. Right, exactly. Sean Payton needs to get it done.
So here is where I would push back on the Steelers and how they played last year, with the quarterback play. It might have been a mirage. I don't think it was sustainable. Mason Rudolph played really well. Yeah. And so it wasn't a situation where it's like the Jets 2 years ago, where the 3 lowest rated quarterbacks in football, Flacco, Zach Wilson, and I forgot who their third quarterback was. Mike White were 3 Jets, and they were getting bad quarterback play every single game. They won 7 games, why people were optimistic when they got Rodgers. The Steelers actually were getting good quarterback play from Mason Rudolph. It's why they started him over a healthy Kenny Pickett in the playoffs. What the Steelers have going for them is how soft the beginning of their schedule is, which we can show you it does come with a downside, which is, man, they better have, if they're going to make the playoffs, Brew, I think we can show you the Steelers schedule.
Great stuff, right?
That final column is hellacious. Really week 11 on, but from week 11 to week 18, you play the Ravens twice, the Bengals twice, the Chiefs, the Browns.
Playoffs. Or are you going to walk that back?
I mean,
look at this.
But the
Tomlin
first
does
10
not
weeks.
He's never had a losing season.
The question is, can they start 7-2? Honestly, that's the question.
Look at that. Nick's right. Look at that first
the
column.
question is,
every one of those.
Is
even
Kirk
Dallas
Cousins bad
is
all of a sudden? Kirk Cousins will have the advantage week 1.
The quarterback advantage, yeah.
Okay, but
sure.
it's in Atlanta.
I
it's
think
his
they're better
debut.
than Atlanta. I think they're better than Atlanta.
Maybe. We haven't seen Kirk Cousins in Atlanta. I'm interested in Atlanta. But it's going to write Kirk Cousins
Coming off an injury.
The point that I'm...
You bring that up every time we talk Aaron Rodgers.
Well, he's going for 300 yards more.
Isn't it the same injury?
But to my point, Wilds, at Atlanta is their second hardest game of the first 10 weeks.
Sure.
You have Raiders, Jets, Giants, Washington as a 4-game stretch with a bye sandwiched in the middle of it. Yeah, that is, and we can move on. If they are going to, we're going to know early, Brew, kind of what you were saying about the Bears, but in the opposite way, where you were like, if they lose to the Panthers and to UConn, they're not going to make the playoffs.
But think how many years recently you've been surprised by the Steelers.
No, I get
You know what I mean? Like,
They have,
even if they
have
start to,
delivered mediocrity like no
Wilds
other
is very
team.
anti-Steelers.
No, great. It's
Yeah.
a great franchise. Right there every year, 500. Haven't won a playoff game in a long
Says
time.
the guy whose rallying cry this season is the drive for 5.
I say it. The Steelers are on the
victories,
same
not rings.
path as the Patriots.
Oh, really?
Yes. All-time great quarterback disappears. We don't know what we're doing.
Well, they're still making the
draft a
playoffs.
quarterback in the first round. Let's get rid of him. And now what are we going to do? At least we're back drafting another quarterback, and they're taking 2 guys like, well,
Justin Fields.
Well,
we'll
but no,
see.
but that's
Justin Fields is Mac Jones. They are the same guy. They were in the same draft class. One guy has put up worse numbers. They were traded for 4th-round picks. What was Mac Jones? I believe a 4th-round pick. So it's like
Mac is.
I think Mac was a sixth-round pick, but
fourth
regardless.
but
that's
Mac has already been penciled in as a career backup.
But we can
not quite
hold on.
Justin.
Justin Fields is a
Not
week
yet.
1 backup.
So far.
Okay, we can move.